Today on Ag Etc., we're at a town hall gathering at the 101st Kansas Farm Bureau annual meeting, where we meet up with Lieutenant Governor Lynn Rogers, who talks about the Office of Rural Prosperity. Find out what prosperity means to the communities around the state. Congressman Ron Estes talks about the economy and trade issues and what they mean to Kansas farmers. Congressman Roger Marshall talks about positive movements and industries that will benefit Kansas agriculture. And Mike Bean with the Kansas Department of Ag talks about what Kansas is doing to increase the availability of rural broadband. Then learn how marbling affects the grading quality of beef. It's all coming up on Ag Etc.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
For a few weeks each year, historic Lecompton turns into a living Christmas village as dozens of volunteers, thousands of ornaments, and hundreds of trees come together to transform the Territorial Capitol Museum into a Christmas postcard. The spirit of Christmas engulfs the town and all who visit.
Merry Christmas from historic Lecompton!
Kansans have a new choice for Medicare supplement insurance plans. With Medicare supplement insurance plans from Kansas Farm Bureau, you have access to 4 levels of coverage, affordable rates, and service from an organization that served Kansans for more than 100 years. For more information on Kansas Farm Bureau Medicare supplement plans, including rates and to apply, visit kfbhealthplans.com.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Governor Lynn Rogers, and it was a real pleasure to be on the panel today for the Farm Bureau annual meeting. It's an important group that Governor Kelly and I are very happy to be involved with. I spoke a little bit about the Office of Rural Prosperity, and as I traveled this summer, we have visited over 44 different communities and in 12 different sites, and we talked to people about what is prosperity, and what they really told us was that they wanted good, high-quality jobs where they could raise a family, as well as living in a community that was forward-thinking and was concerned about quality of life, things that many urban people would support as well. We also heard the things that were going right in rural Kansas, and I have often said sometimes we are too Kansas nice and we don't want to talk about those things, and we need to be much more open and willing to share what's going on in rural Kansas. And then finally we asked the question, what's standing in their way? And what we heard, like what both congressmen said, was that there are a lot of jobs that are going begging and need to be filled, but we don't have housing for them. We don't have quality housing for medium-priced houses. We also have a lack of broadband. About 20% of the state doesn't have it. We think that's higher in rural Kansas, and it's really a high priority. And then finally, access to health care and child care, some of those kinds of things that are, again, quality of life issues that are very much of a concern. And then finally, one of the things that we're doing with the Office of Rural Prosperity is reminding our urban neighbors how important rural Kansas is. If rural Kansas suffers, urban Kansas suffers, and vice versa. When rural Kansas increases in income, urban incomes go up as well, and the research shows that. So we want to make sure that our urban neighbors are connected to our rural cousins as much as we can. We have stressed a lot since our administration that we want to take a bipartisan and in some cases nonpartisan approach to many of the issues. Many of the issues that we're dealing with in Kansas are not Democrat or Republican issues, they're Kansas issues. When we meet with people throughout the state, people don't usually tell me they're a Republican or a Democrat, they tell me they have this issue or this concern. And so that's what we really like. We're stressing how do we work together. What do we agree with first, and then let's attack the things that we disagree with a little bit at a time. We've been very intentional trying to do economic development talks, visit hospitals, visit schools, do something in each community, even sometimes if it's stopping at a coffee shop and visiting around a table with local electeds and local citizens. We're wanting to do that more and more. The governor's website has our information. They can sign up by going to the Office of Rural Prosperity. It's ruralcan prosper.ks.gov, and the CAN is KAN, and it'll also be orp.ks.gov. So we'll have a couple different ways that people will do that. We're going to be putting our first report together sometime in December for the Office of Rural Prosperity, and then we'll be working with legislators over this coming year for some of the things that we want to get done.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about employee safety and work comp coverage. On your farm, do you ask your friends to come help? Are they considered employees or neighbors helping neighbors? Did you know that you can be held responsible just as if it's a work comp accident? Give me a call, we can discuss. 316-945-6733.
Kansans have a new choice for Medicare supplement insurance plans. With Medicare supplement insurance plans from Kansas Farm Bureau, you have access to 4 levels of coverage, affordable rates, and service from an organization that's served Kansans for more than 100 years. For more information on Kansas Farm Bureau Medicare supplement plans, including rates and to apply, visit kfbhealthplans.com.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agamandkansas.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
I'm Congressman Ron Estes from Wichita, so we represent the 4th District of Kansas. So it was great to be here today at Farm Bureau annual meeting, talking about some of the great things that we've got going on in the country. The economy's going great, which helps out with a lot of things. Right now we've got a lot of trade issues that we're working on trying to resolve. Obviously USMCA is the one that's front and foremost on everything that we're looking at, which is a great deal. NAFTA was a great deal for so much of the agriculture throughout Kansas and throughout a good part of our country, and USMCA will even make that better. And unfortunately the politics in Washington have gotten in the way a little bit in terms of making sure that we get that done. The Speaker, really, we're waiting on the Speaker to bring it to the floor. It'll pass. There'll be 75 or 100 Democrats in the House to vote for it because they recognize that we've got increased economic growth, we've got additional jobs, we've got more exports, more imports, and so it's all a positive thing. And Mexico's gone ahead. They've changed the laws in their country to make it work. Canada, they just did their parliamentary elections, and so they're reforming the government and going to reintroduce the bill there. And so really they're waiting on us to take the lead and move that forward, and that's such a positive thing for us in the state and in the country. The NAFTA and the USMCA, US-Mexico-Canada agreement, are not a treaty per se, that you'd have between 2 countries and get ratified by the Senate. But actually it's an umbrella agreement by our 3 countries, Mexico, Canada, United States, to change the respective laws in our countries to match that umbrella agreement. And so Mexico's actually gone ahead and changed their laws already. The White House has language prepared, actually first introduced it a year ago in terms of draft language. And so want to make sure that gets presented so that we can then pass that to change the respective laws in the United States. And it affects things like, NAFTA gave some advantage to Canadian dairy, and this is going to change that in terms of that and level the playing field. NAFTA also had some loopholes around labor and wages and that, which is why we did not see as much growth in wages in Mexico as was expected. And so the USMCA will close that. And so there's just so many things that are great in this process. Right now the step is the United States, we need to change our laws, and we need to get that introduced and changed, passed in Congress. So there's been some positive things on water, particularly in Quivira. And obviously there's a lot of water issues throughout the state, but Quivira has been one of those most recent struggles over the last couple of years to address. And it's good to see that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife has dedicated or indicated that they're not going to request any additional water or demand any additional water this fiscal year, which is appropriate. It gives us some time now with the GMDs to work and to focus on what should we do going forward. Some of the things being talked about, obviously we're not sustainable for agriculture, particularly in that part of the state that south central, southwest Kansas, and so we've got to come up with a better solution. I'm glad to see that now we've got some time to actually work through that. But there's a lot of other issues that we need to work on as well, and broadband's one of those. It's so critical now with technology getting the way it is to allow our Kansas farmers to compete across the world, across the country certainly, but across the world as well. And being able to upload all the data that they collect, all of our equipment now can collect that information, be able to communicate back and forth, not just with other pieces of equipment on the farm, but also across the country, across the world. And so it's so critical that we address that rural broadband issue. We've funded some things. Obviously the Farm Bill came up with a lot of funding to help move that along. We've appropriated money for that. We need to continue to make that process go forward. But that's just the beginning point. We need to do more. We need to look at broadband as the next rural electric system that we need to implement because it affects all of our daily lives, and that's what we need to approach and need to focus on.
SureCrop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. SureCrop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, and we're glad to answer and work with you.
For a few weeks each year, historic Lecompton turns into a living Christmas village as dozens of volunteers, thousands of ornaments, and hundreds of trees come together to transform the Territorial Capitol Museum into a Christmas postcard. The spirit of Christmas engulfs the town and all who visit.
Merry Christmas from historic Lecompton.
This segment brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
So I'm Roger Marshall. I'm the congressman from the big 1st District of Kansas, the largest ag producing district in the entire country. Happy and excited to be here for a town hall to talk about prosperity, to talk about what hopes there are in agriculture. This is the first day of Advent, and that first candle of Advent is the candle of hope. So I'm here today trying to spread some hope and share some hope, some issues going on in DC that I think will help American agriculture. So number one, we had the Japanese trade agreement done, so that's a great thing. USMCA is poised, it's locked, it's loaded, it's been on Speaker Pelosi's desk since March. Surely she'll give America a Christmas present and let us vote on it. We have the votes to pass it. There continues to be mostly good news on the China trade issues. Sometimes we take a step forward and a step backwards, but it's mostly good news. I'm not sure we're going to get it done by Christmas time, but I can sure hope that we'll be really close to getting something decided there as well. The European Union is setting their poise, wanting to do an agreement with us as well. We need to make sure that agriculture is included in that agreement. And of course, when Brexit happened, Great Britain is sitting there ready to go as well. Some of the other good things happening in agriculture, I think about the pet food industry. The pet food industry is growing tremendously across the world, and that's going to benefit agriculture as well. And in the animal health industry, 50% of those products are now made in that animal health corridor between Kansas City and Manhattan. So I think that's going to give some great dividends for Kansas agriculture. We're moving the research agriculture offices from Washington, D.C. The USDA research offices we're moving from from Washington, D.C. to Kansas City. So bringing that research here closer to the producer hopefully will create more efficiencies, hopefully drive down some of the input costs for our farmers as well. So those are a few good things. Maybe we could talk about ethanol for a second. We won a big victory this year allowing ethanol to be E15 to be produced year-round and used year-round in the United States. We took a step backwards though on the small refinery exemptions. You know, maybe one more issue I would talk about is the fake meat that's going on. I was shocked to find fake meat in my own counter at a grocery store in Great Bend, Kansas, and I had pregnant women starting to call me. I'm an obstetrician as well and say, is this safe in pregnancy? And I'd say, you know, I have no idea. I call the USDA and they don't regulate fake meat. It's being regulated by the FDA. So it must be a drug rather than a food. So why in the heck is it sitting in a grocery counter? I don't know. So we just want to hold them to the same standards that we do American beef. We've invested millions of dollars on research. We know all the nutritional benefits of beef. We don't want anybody else using our name for sure. So we want the FDA to clearly define what the word beef means and who can use it and who can't. We want the fake meat people to be transparent. We want to make sure that the consumers have clear labels that show that this is not meat.
Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun. For a few weeks each year, historic Lecompton turns into a living Christmas village as dozens of volunteers, thousands of ornaments, and hundreds of trees come together to transform the Territorial Capitol Museum into a Christmas postcard. The spirit of Christmas engulfs the town and all who visit.
Merry Christmas from historic Lecompton.
This segment brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Let us help feed your family.
Mike Beam with the Kansas Department of Ag, and it's a pleasure to be here at this town hall with the other guests and to hear, we did a lot of talking, but it's nice to get questions from the folks that are here. One of the things I've learned in the few months in this role is it's important for folks who are trying to access this latest technology in farming and ranching, but particular farming. It may be water use, fertilizer use, but you've got to have access to broadband or a strong cell signal, because it's not just downloading data, but for that precision agriculture, that has to have the capability of uploading large data so it can be processed. And it's pretty obvious we don't have that in many parts of Kansas where agricultural production is the predominant activity. So it's just my hope that Kansas is able to position itself to take advantage of some of the federal funds, to maybe look at new ways to find resources, and maybe it's on the regulatory standpoint, but we've just got to make sure that even our most remote areas of the state have the ability to upload and download data through either a stronger cell system or broadband access. State departments of agriculture and also the state animal health departments play a very key role in planning for a disease emergency, particularly animal disease. And so we're kind of with two big ones on the front burner. There's African swine fever, which is running rampant through Asia, and it's just devastated the protein sector and has a lot of unintended consequences for other sectors of ag or even beyond ag. So it's important that we work with other states and even our countries to the north and south to make sure that we keep that disease out of this continent. So I think we've been through, multiple years of some very tough financial times, and a realization that you can have a bad year now and then, but if you have multiple tough financial years, it tends to mount up in the financial and emotional stress amongst our farm and ranch families. That yes, there is emotional and financial stress in rural Kansas and in agriculture, and there are resources out there. KansasAgStress.org should be available this week, and so hopefully people will go to that, maybe get some ideas, and maybe give them the ability or the confidence to reach out to others in their community who may need to have some a handout of appreciation and help if necessary.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
My name's Karen Cope, and I have multiple sclerosis. When you have MS, on the outside you look great, but what's really going on in the inside is chronic body pain, chronic fatigue. And there's lots of days that I'd wake up and say, oh, please God, help me get through this day. After stem cells, Chloe, my youngest daughter, she was asked by my father-in-law, how's your mom doing? And Chloe said, Grandpa, I've never had a mom like this before. Because she was 8 when I was diagnosed, and she really had no other memory of me but being sick. It's really the simple things that we do as a family, like play cards, and to be able to win at cards. They all laugh because I used to repeat myself and say, what hand are we on? Where are we at? And it's just been really a true blessing from God, and we're really thankful.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply. This segment brought to you by Sure Crop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
USDA quality grades focus on those little flecks of fat in beef. First estimated by humans, and now computer videos, more technology is on the horizon.
Marbling is a major component, obviously, of the USDA grading system, aimed at ensuring the eating qualities of beef. I use the analogy of potatoes in that asking the crowd if anyone likes potatoes, and when they raise their hand, we indicate, well, you actually probably really like butter that we put in the potatoes, because marbling serves a lot like butter in potatoes, in that it provides flavor, juiciness, and tenderness to beef products. So beef by itself, or lean protein, actually isn't all that desirable in flavor until you add those levels of marbling to it.
We've known that for years, and the first official grading system began almost 100 years ago. But as good as they were, human graders were subject to some human error.
Camera grading systems for quality grade have been approved since 2006. In that time, we've been able to add consistency to the grade on a national basis.
The modern systems calculate yield, ribeye area, quality grade, and marbling score in the blink of an eye, using data from the millions of pixels in a digital image. But even that seems like yesterday compared to the latest thing.
Rapid evaporative ionization mass spectrometry takes the molecular fingerprint or chemical fingerprint of the meat product by actually cooking it or heating it partially in a rapid sense and then measuring the smoke or the vapor off of that meat, which gives us that chemical signature.
Imagine, just smell meat cooking and name the volatile fatty acids, amino acids, and protein components to differentiate each side of beef. These machines are working on some lines today. A system with more past than future is that of yield grading, with 1 for the leanest to 5 for the fattest carcass.
Yield grade serves as an estimate of red meat yield or edible portion in carcasses. We've seen our industry evolve really away from official yield grades in beef. Part of the reason for that is the debate as to whether it's accurate. What we know is that as a whole, that system does work to differentiate large differences in yield. However, we also recognize that it doesn't work perfectly well on an individual animal basis.
They still figure into many grid payments for finished cattle, and there are ways to minimize the discounts.
One of the things that we can do to actually reduce the incidence of yield grade 4 and 5 is to improve genetics for marbling. A big part of the reason that we feed cattle to a level of yield grade 4 or maybe even 5 is to increase the likelihood of marbling in the ribeye. So if we improve genetics that allow for us to do that at an earlier lean point, then certainly we help to eliminate some of those 4s and 5s.
Werner says the quality grade increase in the last dozen years is thanks to committed producers, backed by researchers who keep exploring how to measure and make beef more meaningful to consumers. That drives demand for more of the best. I'm Bob Cervera.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com. Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com.
For a few weeks each year, historic Lecompton turns into a living Christmas village as dozens of volunteers, thousands of ornaments, and hundreds of trees come together to transform the Territorial Capitol Museum into a Christmas postcard. The spirit of Christmas engulfs the town and all who visit.
Merry Christmas from historic Lecompton.
Hello, I'm Dr. Frank Lyons from Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center here in Manhattan, Kansas. Daryl was one of our patients that we did about 7 months ago.
I dug trees by hand for years and years and years. In the process, I wore out my rotator cuff. But when I learned about this process, I thought if there's a way to get rid of this pain, then I want to do it. So we did it, and it worked. I'm not going to go out and take trees with a shovel anymore, but I can do the things that I want to do now.
Well, it's been very gratifying to help people with their painful joints and other entities. And it's been especially gratifying to be able to help people who I know and have worked with and known for many years.